This is Gidi Driver. Now, Sunday nights are beautiful nights of work. Why? I feel like Sunday nights are romantic nights. I don't know. Most people say Fridays are the nights where people go out, hang out, and do all of that. But for me, from my experience on those roads in Lagos, Sunday nights are the romantic nights. Sunday nights are the nights where you pick up a lot of couples from restaurants, going to restaurants, coming from restaurants, going to sit outs. People like to hang out on Sunday nights. I don't know why. Matter of fact, there's some clubs in Lagos that only open on Sunday nights and they stay open till 7 a.m., 8 a.m. in the morning on a Monday morning when people are rushing off to work. That's when some of those clubs, close. So Sunday nights are really good nights of work. I like the energy. I like the romance. I like to just watch people, just enjoy themselves, enjoy each other's company, have conversations. I like to eavesdrop on, couples coming from restaurants after a beautiful dinner and, sometimes they make out, sometimes they don't, sometimes they I just like it's always interesting for me to just be like a fly on the wall and just observe everything. It's entertaining. So Sunday night I'm doing my regular work, and of course I'm sure this must be something that everyone is used to right now. I like to work in I mean, the prejudice is understandable. In Victoria Island is where you have all the major clubs. It's where you have all the major businesses. Victoria Island is the major business district. Victoria Island, it's quite close to Lekki. It's quite close to Ikoyi. It's quite close to Aja. It's just close to Yaba. It's close to all the major places where things are buzzing in Lagos, where like the real life, everything comes alive. I mean, there are some really cool places in Lagos too on the mainland. I mean, we'll get through all of that. I mean, really cool places. I mean, if you've ever been to the shrine, that's a really cool place, and it's on the mainland. Now, so I'm doing my work in Victoria Island Sunday night. I've done a couple of trips. It's all going good. And then I get this request. The name on it is VK. I'm thinking VK, that's a weird name. Never heard of VK before. Never met anyone who's named VK. So I'm thinking in my head, who's VK? Where is he from? Is he a guy? Is he a girl? Couldn't tell. And so I called, and over the phone, he sounded very humble. He kept calling me sir, sir. I was, a bit put off by that, but the conversation was just interesting. I thought, okay, it's probably just a guy who's trying to get home or get, somewhere. And so I drove to the location, parked, and as I was coming in, he stood in front of the gate. And as he saw me coming, he kept directing me where to come into and where to park. As soon as he directed me and I parked, he came to the window and beckoned on me to wind down my glasses. I wind down, and he said, oh, the request was for his boss, and that his boss will be out in a couple of minutes. I was like, okay, I'll wait for your boss, and I'll take him wherever he wants to go. So after a couple of minutes, the boss came out of the building. It seemed like a restaurant. As he came out, he had like two people walking right behind him, and he seemed to be giving instructions off. He walked tall, his chest out. It was a young guy, seemed very bossy, very commanding, confident, and so he walked straight to the back seat. And I think one of the people who came out with him opened the door, and he sat right at the owner's corner at the back. I greeted and we exchanged salutations. He was a bit, laid back, uninterested in the salutations or any conversation whatsoever. He seemed like a mean, cocky boss, but I could tell he was really young. He seemed like the owner of the restaurant. It was all cool. They handed him a platter, which he took and dropped on the back seat. So the trip continued. While this trip began, I confirmed his destination, which he confirmed also, and I began to look at the map as I drove away from the building. So I was scrolling through my phone, I was trying to understand the shortest routes to his destination. I was just looking over the map, And it wasn't even more than a minute or so while I was driving and looking at my phone, and I heard a voice from behind really loud. Young man, will you stop texting and drive? If you want to text, I don't have a problem with it. You can park the car on the side of the road, do all your texting, and then you continue driving. But I will not sit here and have you driving and texting at the same time. I was shocked. I mean, it's been a long time someone spoke to me that way. So I wasn't sure how to, my brain was thinking really fast how to handle it. I immediately wanted to give him back the same exact energy, but I calmed myself down and I tried to explain that I was looking at his routes and trying to understand the shortest distance to his destination. But I could tell he was aggravated and having none of it. And he said, no problem, but I could see you and it seems like you're testing. So if you want to text, no problem, you can park the car and text. But if you want to drive, please drop your phone and drive me, please. I could understand that aggression and that agitation. So I immediately dropped my phone and I began to drive. And I just drove quietly. I said nothing. I offered no conversation. I was as straightforward as possible. And the trip continued. But I was pissed, very upset. He was rude. I had every ounce in me to give back the same energy he gave to me. But I know myself. I knew I was going to figure out a way to get back at him. So what I did was very simple. I didn't drive him in a calm manner. Every time we came up to a bend, I did not slow down. I took the bend as fast as I could. That from the rear mirror, I could see how the bend was making him lean and he was trying to gain his balance in the back seat. I was driving rough. I was, just taking it out. Yeah, it was petty, but I had to find a way to not talk back at him. So I could only take it out in my driving. I like to give good service, but sometimes, people can crawl up right under your skin and get on your final last nerve. And that was my way of, I think, protesting his arrogance. But it was all good. We drove. I got close to his house. He was going home. As soon as we got close to the gate, he started signaling and beckoning where I should turn into the compound. I heard him very well, but I simply ignored him and drove past the compound. As soon as I drove past his gate, he says, "Hey, you just passed. You passed where we're going. You have passed." Oh, he seemed very upset. I said, "Oh, that's not a problem. I can always reverse." But he was upset. And that gave me so much satisfaction. Every time we took a sharp bend, it gave me so much satisfaction. I felt like I was getting right back at him for all that cockiness. I mean, I wasn't one of his staff. I wasn't working for him. This was a brief business transaction and it will all be over soon. I reversed the car, drove into his compound. The trip it wasn't even a long trip, it was very short. His fare was about 1,500 naira. It was from inside Victoria Island to Oniru. Oniru was still inside VI, but just on the outskirts. So I dropped him off at the compound. He came down. He wasn't even going to pay himself. He beckoned on one of his, an assistant from the house or staff or the gate man, whatever. He came forward and offered me the fare. I collected it from the gate man while he walked into the house. I reversed my car. I drove out of the compound and I was just thinking, how can someone so young be so cocky, be so rude, so bossy? I was irritated. I knew this was one thing I never wanted to be in life. Lose myself to an extent where I'm bossy and, just rude, plain rude. As I drove off, while I was here thinking about all of these things, I looked at the back seat and I noticed there was something on the seat. As I looked closer, it was his Platter. Wow, he had left something in my car. Oh, who's the boss now? I hadn't even seen what it was, but I was sure he was going to soon call for it. And this time, I'll be on top. I'll be the one calling the shots. When I got to a very good location, a very good safe spot, I parked the car, opened the back seat and picked up what was there. Guess what it was? It was food. I was going to eat everything on that platter and not feel guilty about it. It had chicken in there. There was chips. There was gizzards. There was salads. It was just full and rich. And I was like, yeah, this is the perfect payback. I didn't even move the car an inch. I sank right in the back seat, picked up the tray, put it on my laps. I had a drink already in the front seat. I brought my drink from the front to the back. And I instantly began to eat everything on the plate. I made up my mind. This was my compensation for all the extremely disgusting treatment I received from this young fellow. It was so satisfying. You know how I am and how I feel about food. So this was like revenge binging. I ate everything on the platter. Fortunately, he knew what he had done and he didn't call. But we both know that that food was karma. It was the universe rewarding me and rewarding him for our actions. I was patient. I didn't speak back. He was cocky and he lost his food. Touche. I don't feel bad. I enjoyed it. Yeah, that's how it went. Sometimes this kind of trips happens, and I mean, what did you say? Was it okay for me to have eaten the food? Do you guys think it was justified? Should I have called him and informed him about the platter that he had left in the car and returned it? Or was it justifiable for me to compensate myself for all the harsh treatment? What do you guys think? Please let me know in the comments. And just, I don't know how you feel about it, but just let me know. Be sincere about it. And, let's see. Anyways, that's how that day went. That's how that evening went. That's how that trip went. It was cool. It was nice. And thinking about all of that food now has me salivating. But there's this really cool place around here where I can get very good amala and ewedu. And I'm headed off straight over because I think it's time for me to have my lunch break. And yeah, I'm headed off there now. So until next time, when I see you guys, you go have yours. And I'm going straight to have my peace. And I'm out.